Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 24th of September 2018. I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. Right now, we are live streaming on my YouTube channel. Of course, this will be available via Blog Talk Radio sometime probably later on tonight, maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock ish. It will be available via YouTube anywhere from 25 minutes to 30 minutes after the broadcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Ranger. Go to my website, go to my Instagram handle at Rillo Gerald Quinn. We begin the program with the return of one Eldrick Tiger Woods to the winner's circle as Tiger Woods wins his 80th career tournament, his first tournament, the Tour Championship, his first tournament since back in 2013, and seemingly has all the momentum heading towards with the Ryder Cup and also headed towards 2019 in terms of everything. If he can stay healthy, everything's setting up for him to possibly win that elusive 15th major come 2019. Tiger was nothing short spectacular over the course of the tournament. The reason why he won the tournament is because of the fact that he absolutely was able to control his driver. Again, he's putted well for the most part over the course of the year, but again, he could not control his driver. Oh, when he struggles to control his driver. He struggles with hitting the ball in the fairways. That was not the case over the course of this tournament. And you see Tiger Woods was at his absolute best over the course of the 4 days and was again able to get the win. And again, it's not only a win for Tiger Woods, it's a win for the sport of golf when he's playing at that level, when he's playing at the level of looking like one of the best players in the world. And again, a lot to look forward to even later on this week as the U.S. travels across, travels to Paris to try to defend their Ryder Cup victory from 2016. They're looking for their first win over on European soil since 1993, which is just remarkable when you think about it. They a uh, have not won a Ryder Cup on European soil going back 25 years, and they will be over. I shouldn't say overwhelming favorites because Ryder Cup, you almost have to toss talent out of the mix when it comes to the Ryder Cup. The U.S. clearly has a superior team as far as talent, as far as top ranked players. When you go across the board, but again, when it comes to the Ryder Cup, you can throw that all across the board. You can just throw that out the window. Again, going to be considering that it is in Europe. The times for this Ryder Cup going to be a little tricky. You're talking about 2 a.m. starts, 3 a.m. starts, so it'll be Friday through Sunday. So I'm sure people will watch, but those times are going to be tricky moving forward with the Ryder Cup, it being over in Europe. But again, Tiger Woods has all the momentum in the world going into 2019. He's healthy. He seems to be in the right frame of mind. The sport cannot be better off with cannot be any better off when Tiger Woods is playing this well. I mean, if you are making think about it. We're in the midst of football season, college football, NFL are well in gear. You have the NBA on the horizon. And people are talking about golf in late September, early October. That is the power of one Tiger Woods. Like nobody would normally would care about golf, even with these playoffs, which is a ridiculous format, FedEx playoff system. But again, that made no difference come yesterday as the story, and what will continue to be the story as long as he's playing at this level is one Tiger Woods and his chase for major number 15. And again, he has a lot of momentum going into 2019. Again, now he's never been great in the Ryder Cup, even when he was at his peak Tiger at his absolute best, he's never been a great Ryder Cup player. So it'll be very interesting to see how he fares in the Ryder Cup. He's not. There's not going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform at a high level. I know it's a pressurized event, but if Tiger Woods goes out there and doesn't play well, I don't think anybody's going to be questioning whether or not he should have been on the team or what have you. Again, America should win the Ryder Cup. I mean, they have by far and away the best players. Um, it is a loaded American team this year. Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson and guys like that. I mean, Justin Thomas. I mean, it goes on and on with how much talent is on the American team. But again, that doesn't that if you watch the Ryder Cup over the past 20 years or so, that means absolutely next to nothing. The European players are they they have guys who could have done nothing for the past 2 years and go out there and light it up in the Ryder Cup. That's just how they're built. They take it. Both teams take it seriously, but to me, I get a sense that it means even more to the European players than it does, as much as I can possible, considering the times and the start times. So again, it'll begin on Friday with Tiger Woods, being the story heading into this 2018 Ryder Cup. Big day in the NFL yesterday. It was a day for 0-2 teams. It was a day for the underdog, the biggest upset, one of the biggest upsets in one of the biggest upsets in recent memory, as the Minnesota Vikings fall to the Buffalo Bills 27-6. They were 17-point underdogs, 16 and a half over the course of the majority of the week. I think that number reached 17 by Sunday. And Detroit, give Buffalo a lot of credit. They went out there and just embarrassed the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings should be a angry team heading into Thursday night's showdown with the Los Angeles Rams, who are playing as well as who are playing better than any team in football right now, top to bottom, winning all around. I know Kansas City might have the best all around, the best offense, but from offensively, defensively, special teams, the Rams have been the best team in football. And again, these 0-2 teams, you have to always be cognizant of these 0-2 teams, because players know, coaches know, organizations know 0-3, and your season's basically finished. So you had Buffalo standing up, you had Seattle standing up, you had Detroit standing up. Those teams that were underdogs. Well, I don't know. I don't think Seattle. Seattle might not. I don't think Seattle was an underdog. I know Detroit and certainly the Buffalo Bills were heavy underdogs, but you had two shocking results in terms of New England, Detroit, New England, and what transpired in with Buffalo, Minnesota, and also I think even the Dallas and Seattle game Seattle coming off the loss Monday night, to short week against the Chicago Bears. People were feeling pretty good about Dallas coming off that win, Sunday night victory over the New York Giants. Dallas's offense continues to struggle. Dak Prescott needs everything perfectly aligned for him to succeed. He needs a great running game. He needs receivers that can get open. Dak, again, and this has been the story on Dak Prescott throughout the course of his short career. You keep him inside the pocket, he is a mediocre quarterback. He gets outside the pocket. I'm not in terms of talking in terms of scrambling. He moves outside the pocket. He becomes an above average quarterback. That is the book on Dak Prescott. Until Dak Prescott improves within the pocket, he will continue to be a average to mediocre quarterback. He is struggling to crack 200 yards in terms of passing. And again, if you're defending the Dallas Cowboys, I will take Ezekiel Elliott away, and I will absolutely beg Dak Prescott to beat me. He has to show me that he's capable of beating me, because right now, over the course of his career, he has not shown that he can beat you by himself if you neutralize that running game. So, big nice win for Seattle. Um, that might be the only thing that went right for Seattle. A lot of talk with the fact that Earl Thomas's days could be numbered in Seattle, that they possibly could be looking to move Earl Thomas. He missed a couple practices yesterday, unexcused, last week. Apparently, he's going to be fined and disciplined. Now, again, this is Seattle was desperate for the win, because so you can't suspend him. He means too much to your defense, and you came into the home, you came into your you came into the game at 0-2, so they could not suspend him. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't suspend him. He could be on the move. Le'Veon Bell could possibly be on the move as well. The latest, you had the Jets inquiring about Le'Veon Bell. If I'm the Green Bay Packers, I'm telling you right now, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you have to try to make a move. You dropped the ball on Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack so far has been by far and away the best defensive player in football this year. If you had a DOP, a DO, a DPY, if you had defensive player of the year taken right now, it would be without question Khalil Mack. He's been dominant. Uh, Green Bay dropped the ball on him. They cannot miss on another star player that could make it easier on Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay, you could talk about what they couldn't do against Washington's running game, but to me, that offense looked flat. They looked like they need a shot in the arm. I know Rodgers is not 100%, but he wasn't getting any help from his receivers. They need an absolute shot in the arm, and whether it was going to be Khalil Mack or whether it's going to be Le'Veon Bell, it was something. Again, of course, I'm watching that game closely, watching Washington play. And Green Bay just looked absolutely flat coming off, and I thought that Green Bay would come in angry coming off that tie with Minnesota. That was not the case. Green Bay they came out flat. They had drop passes. They had a bunch of penalties. The Clay Matthews penalty withstanding. They just looked like a team that just was going through the motions, and it was taken advantage of by the Washington football team, which had a nice performance. Did nothing offensively in the second half, but was up 28-10 in the first half and was able to hang on to win 31-17. You give Washington a lot of credit. Give Washington a lot of credit coming off an embarrassing loss to Indianapolis, an embarrassing offensive display. The defense over the course of the season, the 3 games of the season, has been consistent. They've given up what six, 21, and 17 points, and even against Indianapolis offense could not move the ball. Washington's offense was putting them in bad spots with short fields. So I thought the defense didn't play poorly even against Indianapolis. So defensively, Washington so far has been vastly improved from 2017. Again, it's going to come down to the running game and the offensive line. In the 2 games that Washington has won, they've had 166 yards rushing and 184 yards rushing. So that is they have to run the ball if they want to have any success offensively. Offensively moving forward. So Adrian Peterson has had 2 nice games, one dud against Indianapolis Colts, and Washington will go into their bye week at 2-1. And I know there were some players complaining about having a bye in the week 4, but the bottom line is they need to get healthy on the offensive line. They have a couple guys that are nicked up as well, so they need to get healthy on the offensive line and be ready for a Week 5 matchup against one of the best offenses in the world with the New Orleans Saints, who, by the way, who played the game of the day yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, over with a shootout win over the Atlanta Falcons, 43-37. Drew Brees is a guy who just is ageless. The guy's completing almost 80% of his passes. Now, I understand that Drew Brees does not stretch the field uh, nowhere cl- nowhere close to what he used to. Now again, Drew Brees has never been a guy in terms of, he'll never be mistaken for the Mad Bomber. I mean, this guy has never been mistaken for a guy who's going to throw the ball 70, 80 yards. He has always been one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the history of the sport. But again, completing almost 80% of the passes, these are not just dink and dunk throws. That is not the case. That is not the case. He's completing throwing passes in tight areas. Michael Thomas has become a superstar wide receiver. You have Alvin Kamara. I don't see how you can deal with that offense right now. They move the ball almost seemingly almost at will on teams, and they are just lethal on especially indoors on turf. Again, give Atlanta's offense could neither offense could stop neither defense offense could stop each other. Neither defense could stop the offenses. You almost had 1,000 yards of offense in that game. Atlanta probably should have won that game. Should have won that game, but give New Orleans credit for making the plays down the stretch, getting into overtime, and then once New Orleans won the coin flip, there was no way that they were not going to score the touchdown going down having the ball first. I would have said the same thing about Atlanta. That was a game where the defenses had absolutely no chance against those quarterbacks. Matt Ryan had a tremendous game as well with the five touchdown passes. But again, it was a matter of New Orleans getting the ball first and ending the game in overtime, and and frankly, which has become, I think, the best rivalry in all football. That Atlanta New Orleans is a nasty rivalry. Those two teams don't like each other. Those two cities don't like each other. That is a absolute just hellacious rivalry, and I think right now it is the best in all of football. You see Carson Wentz return back. It was not spectacular, but was pretty enough plays to get Philly over the hump against Indianapolis 2016. Give Indianapolis some credit, having to go back to back weeks on the road. They split with Washington and split with Washington, Philadelphia. Indianapolis had a chance to win the game on a Hail Mary, but Jacoby Brissett came in for the Hail Mary, as still not completely sure about about Andrew Luck's arm strength. You can tell that they're trying to protect Luck in terms of how they call their games, in terms of how they call their game with the play selection. They want to run the ball. They want to kind of like limit how many throws that he has in the last two games. The first game they didn't, for whatever reasons, he had I think over 50 throws. They don't want that, put that kind of burden on Andrew Luck right now at this point in his comeback, as he's coming back off that with that shoulder. So far, the last couple games, they try to limit what he can do. But again, great news for you if you're a Philadelphia fan, that Carson Wentz is back. And again, it's going to take him a couple, 2 or 3 games to get into the mix, get into the flow, to look like the MVP that I thought he should have been last season. I thought he should have been the MVP, even despite missing the last couple games with the ACL tear. You had you had, again, we talked about Seattle, Dallas. Um, Dallas had a couple of turnovers. Seattle ran the ball effectively. Russell Wilson made enough plays for Seattle to come out with the win. Give Detroit a ton of credit for the Sunday night win against New England. Listen, I'm not gonna sit up here and bury New England at 1-2. We've seen you know we've seen this movie before with them getting off to slow starts, but here's where it's different. I looked at the level of talent on that team, and it just does not match up to years past. It just doesn't on both sides of the ball. They don't have enough playmakers offensively. You can easily double and triple team Gronkowski, and nobody else is seemingly a threat. Um, you know, no Brandon Cooks. Edelman's still banged up. They got Josh Gordon just not ready yet as far as being acclimated to the offense. They don't have they and you heard Collinsworth calling them out during the broadcast for having a limited amount of playmakers. Then defensively, they are bad. They are just absolutely bad defensively. You can run the ball on them. Detroit, to put this in, let me just put this in perspective. Detroit had a 100-yard rusher in over 4.5 years, going back to when Reggie Bush was with them. Reggie Bush, of course, retired from football, so he's not even playing anymore. So that was the last time Detroit had a 100-yard rusher um, in their backfield. Think about, again, how long that was ago. Again, you can run on New England, you can throw deep on New England. That defense is bad right now. And again, this is really hasn't changed since even going back to last season. I mean, look what Philadelphia did to them. Jacksonville was ultra conservative, but when they decided to make plays against them last year, they could moving down the field. So this has not changed from how it was, from how the defense played last season. That defense doesn't scare anybody anymore. And again, I understand they're a little banged up. Flowers is a big mid. Flowers, Patrick Chung, they have guys hurt, but remember in the past, when New England got guys hurt, they would plug another guy in. He would and they were the epitome of next man up. That is no longer the case down in with New England. This roster is just frankly not as talented as they have been in the past, not as deep. And again, I'm not again the Miami Dolphins, the likes of the Miami Dolphins are not going to scare anybody at 3-0. I don't believe in the Dolphins at all. They've been very fortunate in their victories. In a couple of their games. So I don't trust the Dolphins whatsoever. You certainly don't trust the Jets or the Bills. So again, that division is still New England's to lose. But in terms of big picture, when you compare them to the likes of a Kansas, when you compare them to the likes of some of the other teams in the AFC, right now they don't stack up. Now again, the AFC is not that deep, nowhere near what the NFC is as far as quality teams. I still don't know how good Denver is. I'm not a believer in Miami. We'll see what Pittsburgh can do tonight. As they try to get their first win on the road against a surprising Tampa Bay team in a few minutes. Cincinnati, you don't trust. You don't trust Cincinnati. I know they're 2-1. So the good news is they're New England's in the bad division, and the conference overall is not that strong. So they have a couple they have a few weeks to kind of right the ship, to kind of fix some of these holes defensively. Again, they need even more so offense. I see offensively, I think they'll be fine. They'll get Gordon acclimated in. He'll help them out a lot. He can stay on the field. Edelman will be back soon. I'm not worried too much about their offense. I'm worried about their defense because their defense can't stop anybody right now. And again, if you're in a conference with the Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City is going to score 500 points this year, and this is not the Kansas City Chiefs of last year that were running these gimmick plays where the league after 6 7 weeks could catch up to. They have a legit quarterback who can throw the ball down the field. He has a plethora of weapons with the likes of Travis Kelsey, Sammy Watkins, the guy Conley. They have an excellent running game, good offensive line, and Andy Reid know how great he is in terms of coaching quarterbacks. That is a real Tyreek Hill. That is a real offense that can score points on anybody, and that you have to be defensively good. Again, to deal with that Kansas City team, you're going to have to put up. I think offensively, you're going to have to put up minimum 30 points, and defensively, you're going to have some pass rushers. That's all you get. Some pass rushers that can get to the quarterback. I'm looking across the conference right now. Now Joey Bosa will be back for the Chargers, but again, the Chargers always find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. Um, Khalil Mack is out the conference. Pittsburgh had we'll see what Pittsburgh can do. I'm looking at the defense in the AFC, and I don't think that would even that would even threaten the Kansas City offense right now. Now there's some defenses over in the NFC with Minnesota's, with the Rams. There's some defenses over there, but the Eagle defense could do could rush the passer. But in the AFC right now, there's no defense right now that can deal with that Kansas City juggernaut. And again, Holmes keeps putting up these not only the big numbers, but he keeps making these plays. He made a tremendous play, running away from the rush and seemingly throwing a pass. I thought he was throwing out of bounds, and he threw a laser to Conley. So that was one of the great plays of the day. Again, you like to see him struggle and see how he deals with that. And once teams get more film on him, after say 5 or 6 weeks. But right now, Mahomes is without question the MVP of the league, and Kansas City right now has the best offense in the league. Not the best team in the league, but the best offense in football right now. Big game tonight with Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh needs this game in the worst way, not only so much to get their first win of the season, but to feel good about themselves. There's been a lot of nonsense swirling around that team, from Le'Veon Bell, his holdout, to Antonio Brown, doing a bunch of chitter chatter and complaining and whining and complaining. They need a nice on the road win against an undefeated Tampa Bay team to feel good about themselves. I got a feeling that Pittsburgh's going to come out tonight and play a big game. I'm not sold on the Ryan Fitzpatrick show. I'm just not sold on it. I know he's made some big plays over the course of the past two games. He's had back-to-back 400-yard passing games. Jackson is back to being one of the best deep threats that we've seen over the course of the last decade or so. So they have some. He has some weapons with Jackson and Evans and what have you. But I'm still not. He's still Ryan to me. He's still Ryan Fitzpatrick. We'll see how Tampa Bay deals when once Jameis Winston is eligible to come back in Week 5. Winston has one more game after this game. This game included, he'll have next week, and he'll be eligible to play in Week 5. We'll see how they deal with that situation right now. It seems like Fitzpatrick for now is their guy, but things can change quickly in the NFL. As far as college goes, you had a game, maybe season-changing play in terms of that Stanford Oregon game. Oregon's up 24-7, ready to go up 31-7, and all of a sudden they get a it seems like Oregon had scored, but it was determined that the player did not score on the play. Not only does Stanford not get any Oregon did not get any points out that Stanford forces a fumble. Next thing you know, it's 24-14. They get the game to overtime and they win 38-31. And again, one of just a stunning turnaround of events. You thought Oregon was on their way back to being one of the top teams in the Pac-12 and one of the top teams on the West Coast. That's a devastating loss for Oregon. Stanford survives and sets up a showdown. To me, I feel like a semi elimination game, early season elimination game between them and Notre Dame, where you'll have them seven. They'll will be in Notre Dame Stadium prime time. So that should be a great game. But Stanford absolutely stole one. I mean, I give that has to be a devastating devastating blow. Because think about it, they were up 24-7, 31-7. That game is over 31-7. They're at home. Okay, they're at home. Have all the momentum. Stanford is not even built to come back that big of the that big a deficit. They are a team that's built with the running attack. They like to run. I don't know the quarterback is decent, but they are built with their running game. They have a guy who came into this year as one of the Heisman candidate in Love, and who's going to play at the next level. So they're not. So the difference between 24-14 and 31-7 is like night and day. And again, Oregon has to be absolutely kicking themselves for not winning that game. Um, you saw you saw Alabama manhandle Texas A&M. You saw Georgia get by Missouri, a Missouri team that was undefeated coming into the game on the road. So uh, Georgia survived, survives that, gave up some yardage, but was able to survive that game on the road. Virginia Tech falls apart against Old Dominion, which I can't still fathom how Virginia Tech can lose to Old Dominion. Virginia Tech was a 29-point favorite going into that game and lost that game. You saw Oklahoma almost fall. So some road so some it was a tricky could have been it was a tricky Saturday for a couple of couple of road teams, ranked teams that were on the road. But again, the usual suspects: Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, able to handle their business. You have two major showdowns next week, prime time. In essence, going up against each other as far as during the time of the game. You have Penn State hosting Ohio State. Last year, that was a devastating loss for Penn State. They should have beaten Ohio State in Ohio State, so they'll be looking for some revenge. And of course, you will have the Stanford Notre Dame showdown, which to me is a semi-elimination game for those two teams who are looking to crack that four in terms of the playoffs. And again, never too early for a game of that magnitude. for a game of that magnitude. Again, that's a big time game for both Notre Dame and Stanford. So there you go with the with college football. The guy, what's the guy's name from Clemson is going to be the starter now. The freshman is going to be the starter. I can't. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starter. The Alabama quarterback Tuga is clearly heads and shoulders above everybody right now as far as the front runners to win the Heisman. It is absolutely his Heisman to lose. You're more. I'm more impressed by him week after week. Now again, I know he's playing again with the all-world running game, offensive line. Alabama quarterbacks have not made good pros, but he possibly could be he possibly could be the exception. Jalen Hurts should immediately look to transfer. I mean, Jalen Hurts. If you're Jalen Hurts, you're not getting that job. You're not getting on the field anytime soon, unless it's a blowout or unless there's an injury. There's no question who is the quarterback on that team. Without question, he is the quarterback, and right now he is without question the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. For the Heisman Trophy race. So there you go with the college football. There you go with as we go around the league. Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay coming up. You had also again you had a return to glory the Tiger Woods. Always great to see him back near atop the game, and it's going to be. Listen, I'm looking forward for the next couple of years if he can stay healthy. Him developing some of these a rivalry with some of these younger players, whether it's a Jordan Spieth, whether it's a Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka. We've missed that over the past 4 or 5 years with Tiger and all the issues that he's had, especially in particular with the back and knee issues. Now he looks completely healthy as healthy as he looked before all these injuries occurred. And again, he looks primed and poised to make a major run in 2019 to win a major tournament and to win that elusive 15th major. Again, when he gets to number 15, maybe start talking about Nicholas and 18 majors. Let him get to number 15 first before we start mentioning him possibly catching Jack Nicklaus. So that was again one of the stories of the week as Tiger Woods returned to the winner's circle in winning the Tour Championship. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Remember, season 11 coming up in a couple of weeks. Season 11 of the Real Deal Podcast coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a big show for you, big program for you. The Real Deal Podcast, telling it like it is with no apologies. Thanks for listening.